BD5 pilot with you, coming to you from Querétaro, Mexico. I'm down at my in-laws' place, and this is actually where this whole journey with the BD5 started. I was sitting right in this chair, viewing flights above the Pacific Northwest website on my iPad. I came across an ad for a BD5. Had some nice looking pictures, and so I started making some calls. Now, the BD5 was not a new aircraft to me. I'd actually researched this aircraft since I was a little kid. First ads I saw for this showed up, I think, in Popular Mechanics about 72 or so, and then Flying Magazine in 73. And I dreamed about owning one of these planes. This was a cool little plane. I was like 9 or 10 years old. And so I researched what I could at the time. And then through the years, I kind of watched the company flounder and the difficulty they were having with, keeping the engines in the aircraft and finding an engine that would work. And long about the 80s, I built a Falcon XP. Now, this was an aircraft that was a two-place canard design, kind of a neat little plane. And interestingly enough, it's turning out the plane I'm building now, this BD5, is going to have some very similar power torque characteristics to that Falcon XP, although it's only a one-seater. It's actually going to weigh about 200 pounds less. It's not going to have near the wing, but it's going to travel basically twice the speed that Falcon XP would cruise at, and give a lot more, I think, flying enjoyment. The gripe I had with the Falcon XP after I got it built and started flying was that the control balance was not very harmonious at all. The aileron was extremely stiff. It was kind of a design similar to what the Spitfire uses, where it's a twist of the wrist, whereas the elevator's back and forth. The elevator was very light on this aircraft. The rudder pedals were about twice as stiff as the elevator. And interestingly enough, on that aircraft, it was winglets. You'd stand on both of the rudder pedals and they'd act as a speed brake, which is in itself kind of a neat design. The aileron force, so it's probably 4 times what the elevator force was. And so as a result, it was not that fun of a plane to fly around. Yeah, you could kick it around, you could do wing overs and stuff with it, but I found I didn't like the fact that it was slow. I didn't like the fact that it didn't have the control harmony that I liked. And of the aircraft I've flown, I like the Mooney. Mooney is a nice feeling plane, nice balance, a little on the stiff side. And Bonanzas and Barons, they're just a dream to fly. I think the most harmonious control feel comes out of a Bonanza or a Baron. Very nice ratio of elevator to aileron to rudder that you'll get flying an aircraft. From what I've heard from the people that have flown the BD5 and they've talked to me about it, they say that I'm going to enjoy this plane more than anything I'll ever touch. The control harmony is so joyous on this aircraft. From the point of making some of the calls, I started researching the aircraft that I found in that ad. Remember, that's that Navy painted red and white and blue aircraft. And it had a Hirth 2706. I don't think it was a fuel injector. I think it was a carbureted engine. I called up the company that actually sold the original engine and talked to them about it and talked about maybe making some mods, making it electric fuel injection, making it oil injection as well, which are things I liked to have on the aircraft. Found out it was a newer design now. The 3203 replaced that 2706 design and had a little better reliability. And it turned out it was something that I could make the switch and put that engine in instead if it came to it. And had to wait basically until I got back to the Pacific Northwest, and I had a seminar actually in a couple of weeks up in Seattle. So I made the choice to drive up there, drive out and see the actual aircraft. And the fellow that was handling the sale, he'd already told me I might have trouble fitting. He was 6'1", and he could not fit in the aircraft, couldn't close canopy. And I found out when I got there that I was in the same condition. I would have to do some major mods to the seat design to be able to fit in that aircraft. And so therefore I made the decision to, okay, let's look at what else is out there. What else could I find? And what I came across was the aircraft I ended up buying. And this was sitting out in Texas, and it was a nearly completed kit. And what impressed me about this was reading the build log. The gentleman who had done most of the work on this aircraft had done such a meticulous job of measuring, remeasuring, and spending time on critical areas in the aircraft to make sure that this was going to be a sound and safe design, and I wasn't really let down when I finally took delivery. It took 2 months to take delivery of the aircraft after I made the purchase. I commissioned a company to ship the aircraft from Texas up to me, and it took a little longer than I wanted, but I'm quite patient. Got the aircraft, and it turned out that yeah, that build quality was there. When I started taking things apart, I was really happy with how that aircraft turned out. Researching engines, well, one of my early engine choices was actually a larger Hirth. It was an 84 horsepower water cooled 3-cylinder, and I actually put the deposit and made the order for that aircraft, and it just kept on being delayed, kept on being delayed, kept on being delayed. And as I started to lose my patience with that process after quite a few months, almost 6 months waiting, I came across the engine that I have on order right now, which is sitting in Wisconsin, and it's that ZDZ 500, which, as I said, is very similar horsepower torque characteristics to the Rotax 503 that I had in the Falcon XP, except the engine weighs 32 pounds with the starter. That's incredibly light, and that changed some complete design parameters I had for the aircraft, makes it into a very lightweight BD5, might be the lightest BD5 ever produced when I get done with it. We'll just have to see when I get the wiring harness, the rest of the bulkheads built, and all the instruments in the engine, what my final weight ends up being. But it should change the whole parameters of how it flies. For the lightweight, that aircraft is going to handle as Jim Beatty designed it. It's going to have that lower stall speed. It's going to have that crisp control characteristics. All the weights kept very centralized in it. I don't have to carry lead weight off on either end of the aircraft to control weight and balance. So I'm looking forward to what I get done with. But here's where it all started, down here in sunny Mexico with an idea. And where I've ended up is owning a hangar, owning the parts that are going to become a completed BD5, and doing a lot of the labor myself, which is enjoyable work. So all of you out there that dream about BD5s, you can do it. Just be patient, wait for the right one to come along. BD5 Pilot out for now.